The 5-inch gun on the destroyer's forward deck fires again. The blast shakes the steel hull like a fist hitting a metal drum. Below deck, in a compartment no larger than a parking space, a 23-year-old sonar technician lies on a rack that is bolted to the bulkhead. She has been awake for 31 hours. Her eyes are open. She's staring at the pipe that runs across the ceiling 6 inches above her face. Condensation drips from it every few seconds. She does not flinch when the gun fires. She stopped flinching 3 weeks ago. This is how U.S. Navy personnel sleep while under attack by Iran. The short answer is they do not. Not really. Not the way civilians understand sleep. What they do is closer to controlled unconsciousness, a tactical shutdown of the brain that can be reversed in under 2 seconds if the alarm sounds. It is a skill that cannot be taught in any training manual. It is learned in the dark, in the heat, in the vibration of a ship that never stops moving, while missiles that may or may not be heading toward you are tracked on screens 3 decks above. The 2026 Iran war has pushed the United States Navy beyond its limits. By late July, the U.S. has amassed a maritime strike force of at least 19 warships in close proximity to Iran. 3 aircraft carrier strike groups operate in the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf simultaneously: the USS Abraham Lincoln, the USS George H.W. Bush, and a third carrier whose name changes depending on which week you ask. The blockade of Iran, imposed on April 13, 2026, requires these ships to maintain a continuous presence in the narrowest, most dangerous waters on Earth. The Strait of Hormuz, at its narrowest point, is 21 miles wide. 19 warships, 3 carrier air wings, thousands of sailors all operating inside a corridor that Iran has spent decades mining, booby-trapping, and preparing for exactly this moment. Sleep, in this environment, is not a right. It is a tactical resource. The Navy operates on a watch-standing schedule that has been refined through decades of trial and error. The standard rotation during combat operations is 5 hours on watch, 10 hours off. On paper, that gives a sailor 10 hours to eat, shower, rest, and sleep. In reality, those 10 hours shrink. Meals take 30 minutes, showers take 10. Walking from one end of a ship the size of an aircraft carrier to the other can take 15 minutes each way. Administrative duties, equipment checks, maintenance logs, safety inspections consume another hour. What remains is a window of roughly 6 to 7 hours for sleep. But that window is never guaranteed. Because Iran does not respect watch schedules. The IRGC Navy operates small, fast boats that swarm at night. They launch from hidden coastal positions, move in groups of 5 to 15, and rely on speed and numbers to overwhelm defensive systems. When radar picks up a swarm, the call goes out across the entire battle group, general quarters. Every sailor, regardless of whether they just laid down 10 minutes ago or 10 hours ago, must report to their battle station within minutes. The ship seals for watertight integrity. Hatches slam shut. The ventilation system changes pressure. The lights switch to red. And whatever sleep was happening, it stops. This can happen 3 times in a single night. Or it can happen 0 times for a week. The unpredictability is the point. Iran understands that a sleep-deprived crew makes mistakes. A tired radar operator misses a contact. A fatigued fire control technician hesitates for half a second. A watchstander on the bridge misreads a bearing by 1 degree. In the Strait of Hormuz, 1 degree is the difference between staying in a shipping lane and drifting into a minefield. The ships themselves are not designed for sleep. They are designed for war. Berthing compartments on destroyers and cruisers are located below the waterline, safer from missile fragments, but also hotter, louder, and more humid. The ambient temperature in a lower deck berthing area on a warship operating in the Persian Gulf in July can exceed 90 degrees Fahrenheit, even with ventilation running. The noise level never drops below 60 decibels, the constant hum of engines, pumps, ventilation fans, and the occasional shudder of the hull as the ship changes course. Sailors learn to sleep through it, but sleep is a generous term. What they achieve is a shallow, fragmented rest that leaves them functional, but never fully restored. On the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, the problem is worse. Pilots flying combat missions against Iranian targets operate under conditions that the military's own medical researchers have called unsustainable. Flight operations during the Iran war routinely exceed 34 continuous hours. A pilot may launch at dawn, strike a target deep inside Iranian territory, return to the carrier, debrief, eat, and be called back to the cockpit 12 hours later, having slept perhaps 4 of those hours in a compartment that shakes with every arrested landing. The U.S. Medicine Report from June 2026 documented the concern explicitly. Operations exceeding 34 hours increase the risk of in-flight errors and reduced alertness. The countermeasures include behavioral interventions, operational adjustments, and pharmacologic agents. That last phrase means amphetamines. Go pills have been part of military aviation since World War II. In the Iran war, they have become routine. But the most revealing detail is not in the official reports. It is in the stories sailors tell each other. The rumor that spread through the fleet in April 2026 that a sonar technician on a destroyer in the northern Arabian Sea fell asleep standing up during a general quarters drill and was not discovered until the all-clear sounded 20 minutes later. The story may be apocryphal, But the fact that it circulates tells you everything about the conditions the Navy is operating under. The Department of War convened the first ever Sleep and Fatigue Summit in June 2026, bringing together over 130 experts from all military services. The summit produced a working group called the Command Readiness, Endurance, and Resilience Program, an acronym-heavy response to a problem that every sailor already understands in plain language. The Navy's own data shows that the average surface warfare sailor during the Iran conflict gets between 4.2 and 5.8 hours of sleep per day. The medical recommendation for adults is 7 to 9. The gap is not a planning oversight. It is a consequence of operational tempo. The Navy is stretched beyond its limits. 3 carrier strike groups in a single theater, 19 warships in a 21-mile strait, thousands of sailors operating at the edge of human endurance, and Iran knows it. That is the secret of war that no documentary title captures. The enemy does not need to hit your ship to hurt you. They only need to keep you awake. They only need to launch one swarm at 0200, another at 0430, and a third at 0630. They only need to fire a missile that forces your entire battle group to general quarters for 90 minutes, even if the missile is a decoy. Because every time the alarm sounds, the clock resets. And the sailor in the lower berthing compartment, the one who has been awake for 31 hours, the one who stopped flinching 3 weeks ago, she loses another chance to close her eyes. On July 27, 2026, the Iran war entered its 6th month. The New York Times described it as a period of greater uncertainty. For the sailors on the front line, uncertainty is not an abstraction. It is the sound of a pipe dripping in the dark. It is the vibration of a hull that never stops. It is the knowledge that somewhere beyond the horizon, a small boat is waiting for the lights to go out.